Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Mindful Muscle Podcast. We're actually having a re-release today. Jodi, how you doing?
I'm great. If you're new here, welcome. Gio and I are two individuals who went on our own health and wellness journeys and collectively have lost and maintained over 140-pound weight loss. And we're here to show the beginner that we are worth the effort. It is possible without losing your mental health in the process
Yes.
of bettering yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because, sometimes the toughest thing about it is the mental aspect. And in this incredible episode of the Mindful Muscle Podcast, and trust me, you're going to want to listen to it, an amazing couple, Darin and Marsha, completely transformed their lives, losing over 240 pounds combined, 100 pounds more than Jodi and I have. Jodi, what do you remember about this episode?
What I remember the most is the strength of their marriage and how they band together to help improve both of their healths. And it was only one of them that had the major health scare, but they decided to do it together. I think the biggest complaint I hear from people is my spouse won't get on board with me, or
Mm-hmm.
my spouse won't go to the gym. And I think you should want to do it enough on your own. It should not be contingent on your partner, but wow, how much easier would life be if you're trying to make massive health changes and your partner is doing it with you?
I agree 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. You should do it on your own for yourself. But when you have somebody internally, your quote unquote best friend, your marriage partner, the one you're biblically one with, on board, it makes it easier. And look, what stood out to me about this episode is that Darin was 367 pounds on 5 diabetic medications, including insulin. His doctor told him he only had about 10 years to live, and they totally transformed this with discipline, faith, and the group in which we met. Community involvement helps. And so I pray that everybody who listens to this re release gets inspired because I hate to put them on blast here. I'm kidding. But they're not spring chickens. So it doesn't matter your age. You can do it at any age. You can change your life around. Jodi, give us a little closing remark here before we let the people enjoy this episode.
You nailed it. I think it's important to remember it's only too late when you're about to leave this earth. That's when it's too late. It doesn't matter how old you are. I was in my mid 30s when I started. Weren't you in your 40s when you
Yes,
started?
47.
It's never too late. It's never too late, and we are worth the effort.
Amen for that. So enjoy this episode. Like and subscribe. Until next time on the Mindful Muscle Podcast, be blessed.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Mindful Muscle Podcast with my great co host, Jodi. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you, Gio?
Better than I deserve. Let me make a quick announcement, everybody, before we get into the main episode. I passed my nutrition exam. So, along with the fact that I'm a NASM certified personal trainer, I'm also a nutrition coach. So, thank you all for the support in the community.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Now we have two nutritionists on the show.
Yes. I had to keep up with Jodi.
Speaking of keeping up, I wanted to share with our audience an app that I tried today called PodBeat. It's a great app. Even though I have a podcast with Gio, I don't get to listen to a podcast very often because often I'm doing something and I prefer doing it to a beat. But running today, when I was on the treadmill, I tried this app. It's called PodBeat, where you can choose a beat that plays in the background of a podcast that you're listening to. So I got to do that today when I was running 2 miles, preparing for tomorrow's Murph workout. And I enjoyed it enough that when I got home and needed to clean up the kitchen, I did it again. I played it and was able to listen to How to Become a Personal Trainer by Jordan Syatt and Mike Vacanti. And actually, it was enjoyable. I felt like I could still understand what they were saying, but still had that beats as I'm doing things. So definitely check them out. I know on Instagram, they're podbeat_app. Definitely check them out and tell them Mindful Muscle sent you.
And now to the main event, Darin and Marsha. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Doing very well. Thank you, Gio.
Look, you guys have a wonderful story for the audience. We know them online in a community, the Fitbot community, and they've had an amazing transformation, but they want to, obviously, we want to let them tell us our story. Where would you like to begin? Because I've seen the pictures. I see you guys working out. It's amazing. Where would you like to start?
Well, I guess maybe just kind of preface everything, give a little backstory. Marsha and I struggled with our weight probably most of our lives. When we met each other, we were both obese, and both had our own stories to tell, our own struggles with being overweight. But fast forward over a number of years after we had been married for a while, in January 17th of 2023, to be exact, I went to my family physician for a checkup. And at that point, I weighed about 367 pounds, I think. And he basically came in and said, your labs are a mess. I've got you on 5 medications for diabetes, including injectable insulin. Your A1C is 10.9, and you're out eating everything I can do with the medicine. And he said, I don't have anything left really in my arsenal to give you. I knew at that point that I kind of ridden the medication train to the end of the line there. He flat out told me, I don't know what the next 10 years looks like for you if you have 10 years. And that was kind of a major wake up call for me. I came home and told Marsha, well, I'm going to have to do something. We have, a pretty new grandbaby at that point. He was born in June. This was January. And and he's in that picture. I refused for that to be my future. I did not want to miss out on watching my grandson grow up. And so I told Marsha, I'm going to ask you to do this with me necessarily, because she and I had both tried to do weight loss and failed a number of times, because I don't know, it was just really hard. Food is an addiction has been. And so, I told us that
let me interrupt you there real quick. So that's a dramatic story, and I didn't know that story exactly that we're seeing here. Is this before you started your journey or after you started your journey?
That would be December of 2023, right there.
22.
Or 22.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 1 month afterwards, basically, roughly, that I got that news. And so, I told her, I'm not going to ask you to do this with me. That's kind of, it's hard to tell somebody, hey, I'm going to teach you about the way we're doing stuff. So, but she basically, she'd been pre-diabetic, and she said, I'm not that far behind you. So, we started the journey together.
Marsha, let me ask you, when he came back with this diagnosis, the doctors basically telling him, look, you probably don't even have another 10 years. What was your initial gut reaction?
Well, Gio, I've been in the medical field for a long time, and it's what I see every day. I was scared. I really was, because I knew that food was an addiction for both of us. And I knew that it was going to be hard. But I also knew that we had to do it. So we had to improve upon ourselves and get that mindset that everything has to be delicious. And it had to be instead of living to eat, we needed to live.
So where would you guys say was the first aspect that you started to change? Did it start with the nutrition, or did it start with fitness? What was the first step?
Honestly, it was getting moving. Just started walking in our neighborhood. We had this little route that we would go, and initially we couldn't make it a quarter of a mile and my hips were hurting so bad.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if I could go on. I was taking enormous amounts of ibuprofen, just to try to keep going. And that was the first part of it. And then of course it was, we were going in and to our pantry and the refrigerator, and throwing out everything that we didn't need to be putting in our bodies. And that was probably about 90% of what we had in the kitchen. And we didn't really know, honestly. I mean, I've been an athlete before, and I've lost and gained hundreds of pounds probably over since the time I was 16 up until that what needed to happen. But I really wasn't dialed into what that nutrition needed to look like yet. But
He's a huge researcher. He's a researcher.
well, I have a doctoral degree, and so I came by it honestly, I guess. I didn't get into that to do research. I do enjoy researching things that I know of enough about, which this gave me a perfect opportunity to do that, because I knew I needed to learn not just the nutrition of it, but I hadn't been in the gym in 35 years. So I needed to get in there and figure out a way to be able to do this. And, in my 50s without hurting myself, that didn't work out so great. When I get my mind, I only have 2 swings, and that's 100% or nothing. So, I've battled injuries and setbacks along the way, and, but I've also learned how but honestly, the nutrition aspect of it didn't get really dialed in until we were about 3, maybe close to 4 months in. Yeah.
Okay. So then you said you said you started doing some research. What was the first, eye-opening moment you had in nutrition? Because obviously, I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, you weren't handling your nutrition properly. You've made tremendous changes. But what was the first eye opener for you guys when it came to nutrition?
Oh goodness. For me, and I think Darin can attest, was when we really started counting our calories, realizing what we had been eating. One meal blew our daily calorie count out of the water.
Well, when you're eating a calorie deficit, which, a lot of people don't, sorry, I have a tendency to move my hands when I talk, but you don't realize, unless you're tracking, at least for us, you don't realize that every little thing you put in your mouth adds up. And so that's been part of a training process for us. We log still today, we log every single thing we put into our bodies, but we've learned a lot through the process too, because it's taught us kind of, in a way, we can go, if we wanted to, we could go to a buffet and we would know the things that we have to stay away from and the things that we can hone in on. And we can get it pretty close these days to where we need to be. But I've learned that the 3 macros that we pay attention to the most are carbs, protein, and fat. But one of the things I learned early on is that if you're going to eat in a calorie deficit, if you're not giving your body enough protein, it's going to get it one way or the other. So you're either going to eat it or take it into your body, or it's going to pull it from your muscle mass that you already have. And I did not want to lose the muscle mass that I had. So that's when I started putting in protein intake. At first, it was about 0.8 grams of protein, because that weight, it was almost impossible to eat that much. I felt sick eating that much protein. It's a lot of food, but so about 0.8 per pound of body weight was where we were at. And what I found is if you're eating that and you're doing lean protein, the carbs and the fat pretty much take care of.
Yep.
And they need to put other things in there, like good veggies and fruits, and try to create balance there. But honestly, our primary focus, even day is how much protein we're taking in, because everything else takes care of itself.
Yep. Now, did you learn all this through your research, or did you work with a registered dietitian or nutritionist? How did you learn about the 3 macros and how many calories you should be taking in?
Honestly, that credit goes to a lot of y'all that were in the Fitbot community. Girl, you may remember I was asking him a million questions. I know I was just bugging a lot of people to death. Bill and some of the folks in there. I asked a lot of questions because I was soaking in everything that I could think of. And then once I got the initial information from a bunch of very helpful people in that community, I started going off on researching it in further depth where we needed to be. And I guess you could say I've kind of been Marsha's coach along the way, because she,
I am not a researcher at all.
she lets me take care of them.
Well, I mean, I forgot what was his name, but he used to say, he was a financial coach, but he used to say, if in a marriage, if both of you are the same, then one of you is not needed. Right? We got to complement each other. And so let them do the research. And I'm pretty sure you bring a lot of value to the family. Let me ask you this question. In this picture, though, right, there's a drastic change from the first picture we showed to this picture. What was the timeline in between those 2 pictures?
That would be, okay, so the one where Marsha's in there with our grandson, that would have been March. And then the one with the Thunder shirts on, me and my grandson, that would have been last weekend.
Okay, good, great. And so what's the time span, though, in years, as far as years and months?
About
16
months.
Okay.
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
So it's a testament that it doesn't have to take several years. You can make big changes in a short amount of time. What would you say is the toughest part in making the changes?
Honestly, you've got to find your why, I think. My why started out, the initial part was wanting to live for my grandson, but it was more than that, because I love my family, and all credit in my opinion, needs to go to God, because when I first started this, I basically prayed and said, God, I've not been able to do this on my own. I've tried and failed, but if you help me get through this, I will give you all the glory for it. And that'll be part of my testimony.
And Marsha, for you? Oh, no. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jodi.
That's where God has opened up doors for me every step of the way. Every time a door could have been closed, it opened. And I could give you example after example after example of all the ways that I feel like God did that for me. And same thing for Marsha.
Amen.
Darin, do you think you would be as successful today if Marsha didn't join you on this quest on bettering your health?
Not at all.
1,000% no. Because you're saying, well, if your partner is doing exactly the opposite of everything you're trying to accomplish, you're unyoked. You're going in different directions, and if you're addicted to food like we both were, it's just like putting crack in front of a crack addict. I mean, they're gonna cave. And Marsha didn't always like me through the process because I tend to push a little.
He's very competitive, and I'm not.
Yeah, I'm but we've all seen the memes and everything else, but when I went to the gym, my biggest obstacle was my getting out of my head, because I looked around and I used to be an athlete. I used to be strong. I was the guy with all the heavy weights, and I looked around and I'm pathetic. And I see all these people in there, and the first is you mentality has to take over. You've got to learn to put yourself in a place where you're not comparing yourself to everybody else, but you're just trying to be better than the person you were yesterday. And
Absolutely.
that is something that we both had to embrace. And I have to remind Marsha this a lot, I think. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but females have a much harder time seeing progress than men do. And for her to sit there and see the progress that I'm making and then not feel like making that kind of progress, that was incredibly hard for her. And I knew it. And I was trying to encourage her along the way. But one of the things that I think that people need to realize that are on this journey is the hard work that you're putting in today, up for months, probably. And it's 16 months initially felt like an eternity, but now looking at it now, I'm very proud of where we've come from, and Marsha's made unbelievable strides in the last 3 months. I mean, anybody that has known us and seen us, they can see all the work that she's put in. And, I don't know. I just thank God that we're able to get up and go every day that we go. I usually bounce right up out of bed at 3:30 every morning, and I'm ready. And I can't wait to get there, because the gym is the place where I go through those doors and the whole rest of the world goes away for a little while, and I get to focus just on me. And that sounds selfish, but it's not, because if I'm a better me, then I'm better me for everybody around me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have to be selfish in order to give our best selves to our loved ones. We can't if we're running on empty.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
sure.
Jodi has a similar story, and so do I, right? That once we realize, it's not just the best way to serve our families is for us to be around for the long haul. And that
Right.
takes personal responsibility. And so, yeah, good point.
Well,
Well, you
discipline,
both. No, go
obviously,
ahead. Sorry.
which I had none. When it came to food, there was zero discipline. It was anything and everything goes. But the discipline of it, it's got to be there. And I know I was just talking to a guy in the gym the other day who had just started, and I was like, the hardest part and the biggest part of it, I think, is just showing up, and the discipline of, even when I tore my rotator cuff, broke my foot, or all these other things, I'm dragging my butt in there because I need the routine. If nothing else, if I couldn't do anything else, I need the routine, getting my butt through that door. And it's just had to be there.
Yep. Now, you both look fantastic, but how are you medically? Have you seen improvements with your medical health?
Well, Marsha's lost, I close to 90 pounds now, I think. And I lost a total of 155 pounds, but I'm actually on I'm on a maintenance schedule now where I'm trying to bulk a little bit. So, that's kind of odd, different at first. But I will tell you, I went to the doctor, this last Monday, and my A1C was 4.5. He's completely thrilled. He wants to start taking me off all my meds that I was on. By the way, I was on 11 different prescription medications when I started. I
Mercy.
take 4 now. So,
Wow. That's
I mean,
incredible.
that's amazing. So, Marsha, for you, when you're seeing his progress and perhaps you were tempted to give up, what got you through it?
I knew that, we still have a 16-year-old at home, and I knew that I wanted to be there if he were to ever get married, or let alone grad. And then we also have our grown children as well, and our grandson. I knew I couldn't go back. I knew I couldn't turn around or stop. Wasn't going to allow it. And for 2, I just couldn't. Don't get me wrong, 3:30 comes awfully early, And there's time. I'm just like 5 more minutes, please. But it's usually 3 and then we roll out of bed and go. So
We've got a little inside joke. I know probably you guys have seen my post, but there's about the guy from Dunkin' Donuts getting up in the morning, getting the alarm clock. So 5 more minutes. I'm like, nope, time to make donuts.
Yep.
So let's go.
So why that time? Because people work out at different times throughout the day. Jodi and I are morning persons as well, but why that time for you?
Well, ultimately, I did not want to do it. I was a late night person myself my whole life. I easily would be up till midnight and then get up, but.
And if you know me, I'm a pumpkin by 9. So yeah.
But him,
Same, girl, same.
he's in at 5 o'clock after we get off work. And I don't have anything against teenagers. I mean, we have some, we love them. But, in our gym, there would be 5 or 6 of them gathered around a couple of different machines. Most of them had their phone out and they're talking and they're on their phone. And when I was ready, and I'd skip several exercises waiting on them to finish. And then when I get done the last one, and one day, I had done that and I had skipped everything and I needed to finish, and they were on one machine and they'd been there for an hour. And I went up and said, "Hey guys, what, are you guys about finished?" And they said, "No, we got like 4 cents." And I was like, "Well, it works a lot better if you actually use the equipment." I got really pissed off.
Yeah.
And so I told her, and she goes, "Well, maybe it's time to go in the morning." So we started going at like 5, but the problem with that is, I've got to be at work by 7:30, and that's not near time to put a good workout in where you don't feel rushed. And I really rushed. I love my time in there. So we just kind of kept pushing it back, and we settled on 3:30 because that allows us time to get in there and really focus on what we want to do without feeling rushed. We enjoy our time. We can get back home. We can drink a cup of coffee, leisurely get ready for work. And we just enjoy that.
Okay. The natural question for me, she turns into a pumpkin at 9 o'clock, she said, but what do you turn to? Because you said you're naturally a night owl. How does that work for you? You know what I mean? Having to be disciplined in that area.
Well, rest is one of the most important parts of this process. Right?
Yes.
So I've heard the same habit. So usually it's about 8 to 15 p.m. at the latest for both. Marsha, a lot of times now, Marsha could fall asleep at 5 and be okay.
Yes.
We're in bed usually from 8 to 8:15 at the latest every day.
It took a little while. I mean, he still has his times, especially if he knows he's on summer break or whatever, that he may stay up, but he also knows he knows he still has to be disciplined to be ready to go in the morning. So
Try to catch my sleep on the weekends, but like this week, we watched our grandson overnight last night. I've found, usually watching him, and he gets up at like 6:30. That's like sleeping in for us. So I was like, yeah, no problem. But I was wide awake at 4 a.m. just like in bed. So it's all right. I find time to sleep.
Okay. Let me ask you, we're all mature adults here in the sense, I think none of us are in our 40s. I'm 51.
I'm 42.
No, I'm saying,
Watch yourself.
No. I meant like younger. I meant younger than 40, right? So why weight training? The notion is, just do more cardio to lose weight. What made you guys get into weight training and not just the old adage of run more or walk more or the cardio aspect in losing this weight?
Well, number one, I think we both want to look better. I think one of the statements that Mark made to me often, even before we started losing weight, is we would see somebody out and about and she'd like, "Man, I want to have guns like that." And I never really said stuff like that, but I always told people, because when I was playing college football or when I was playing high school ball, they taught us how to lift weights, but it was strictly for power. It was not for definition. I always told people, I, I'm just a big farm boy build. I can't build definition. That's just not in my genetics, which was a bunch of bull. I just didn't have anybody to train me and teach me how to do it right. So, but I also know, yeah, I wanted to look better. I mean, I wanted to have a better looking physique, but I'll be honest with you. I knew I was going to have a lot of excess skin, when I was done, and I couldn't afford plastic surgery. So my best, fill it all out. And, that was my thinking anyway, is if I can't get plastic, I'm just going to fill it out. So that's what I've been trying to do, is fill it out. And, little by little, it seems like it's getting a little better. And, I also know that metabolically speaking, muscle mass burns a lot more calories at rest. And so best free on those days when we can't the cardio and or other things.
Well, what do you tell people? Come on, we're too old to grow muscles at this age.
I show them my biceps now.
Yes.
And speaking of which, you're not flexing per se, but there you go. It looks good. Nice picture.
I've been working on my shoulders quite a bit, especially, I didn't think that was ever going to happen with the torn rotator cuff, but I had an excellent physical therapist who showed me how to work around it. But the good thing about shoulders is you don't have to lift a ton of weights to get defined shoulders. So that's helpful.
I want to know, what did you guys used to believe when it comes to nutrition and fitness that you're like, man, I can't believe I used to think like that, where whether it be like eating fat makes you fat. I know that's a common one that people used to believe.
If it tastes good, spit it out. That's, I know, of course, but when you're eating anything and everything, I will tell you, every single day of my life, my thought process is what is my next meal going to be, and how flavorful can it be? How rich can it be? Every single time, that was what my thought process was.
We would be in the middle of a meal and thinking about our next one. I didn't know a lot about nutrition, and like I said, Darin is definitely the researcher. So yeah, I was just kind of willy-nilly when it came to that, and just ate whatever I wanted. Now the macros and the protein and things like that make a lot more sense. But yeah.
Also, we had to learn to cook differently. And in that process, we found out we like vegetables a lot more than we thought. We just weren't prepared for them and flavorful. I love roasted vegetables. Toss them in olive oil, put your favorite seasonings in there. It brings out vegetables that I never knew you could get. And so, I mean, I will eat the heck out of roasted vegetables anytime. And used to be, it was like, oh man, I don't want to steam it. I don't want to eat another steamed broccoli ever again.
Hey, I'm a big fan of air fryer. Vegetables in an air fryer are so good. Let me tell you a funny story that now that you bring this up. I was flying to Israel, 13-hour flight with some friends. My wife didn't come. We had a newborn. And so they gave me some flavored quinoa on the flight. I mean, the flight is so long, we got 2 meals, one in the morning, one later on. And I get home and I tell my wife all about this flavored quinoa that I love and that we should make more quinoa. And she's like, but every time I make quinoa, you don't eat it. I was like, we've been making it flavorless. Just put some spice in it, right? And now I've replaced brown rice with quinoa. For my neck of the woods, right? A quinoa is a complete protein where rice is not. And you get more bang for your buck. It's less calories than rice. So yes, flavoring something makes a big difference, how you flavor. And I would rather you put some olive oil on the vegetables and eat it than not put olive oil on the vegetables and not eat vegetables.
Yeah.
So good on you. What about you, Marsha? What did you discover besides vegetables that you like to eat now that in the past you said,
We love grapes. They
okay.
are really have a sweet tooth. Those are really in moderation. But we have
Yeah.
found that, they do have some sugar, but they are low calories. But yeah, grapes are my go-to for sweet.
Okay.
Well, and I have a sweet indulgence, and I can show him.
His pretzels,
Okay.
crisp.
Okay.
Oh, yum.
5 of those are 130 calories, and you just have to know how to fit it in. I mean, it's like anything else. You got to know what you can put into moderation, and I feel like as long as we're putting the work in, day, exercising in the gym, I'm thrilled to get back into my normal cardio routine because I love doing the elliptical. I don't do it month.
Marsha does not agree with that.
Not kind of doing it. You can only do a few minutes.
Literally, I was at like maybe 2 minutes.
She hated it, and but she's up to 35 minutes.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, I could probably push for it.
Okay.
Push her to do more, even though she hates me for it. It's if you put in the work and every part of your nutrition is right, and this is the other important part for me, and I know it's important for Marsha. We have to, for the long haul, develop a healthier relationship. So that not all food is taboo or terrible, and it's not going to be the end of the world if like at Thanksgiving, we indulged in some of the things that we like. No, we didn't fill our plates with them, but we still were able to have those things. But I'm also aware of my tendency to also, in the past, diet and then binge because I would just go back into these old bad habits. So I'm very careful about what I am allowing myself to put on my plate.
And the amount.
And the amounts for sure. But that's part of learning to develop a healthier relationship with food. I think is a major emphasis of Marsha and mine, to make sure we never, ever go back.
Absolutely.
Well, go ahead, Jodi.
No, I completely agree. One of the previous episodes, I believe the one with Samantha, one of the things I mentioned was we're taught how to diet. We're not taught how to eat. And I think because of so many diet myths out there, we wind up having that all or nothing mindset that, leads to over restrictive and then binging. Because I used to be guilty of doing that constantly until I just let myself enjoy treats and track it. Then I craved it less and I was in better control because of it. But that's not something we were ever taught before.
Yeah. And going along with that, yesterday I was visiting some friends and it was a long day and I must have eaten like a bag of corn chips. I normally don't do that, but knowing that I've already ingrained this habit in my life, I know that one day it's not going to derail me. Today back, I'm eating, within my, allotted calories and allotted macros. And when we're taught to eat healthy, like Jodi was alluding to, we know that one day is not going to throw us off. Not even 2 days, because it's in totality, looking at the big picture, long run. What I eat is not a diet. I'm eating for sustainability. And so one day you eat a bag of corn chips, who cares? Move on, get back on, and it's not going to change.
There is some guilt associated with that because, I will say for myself there, at Thanksgiving, I was not very proud of myself because I had 2 very small pieces of pie and like some pudding. And afterwards, I mean, honestly, I did kind of feel like just because I'm not used to it. But also just the guilt of, okay, that was probably not the best thing to have done. But that's the whole thing of learning to have a healthier relationship with food. We can't ourselves constantly feel guilty about times when we actually are with family and friends or whatever, and we just enjoy a family meal with everyone, and it's not perfect. That, and you talk about bang for your buck. Marsha will tell you, I say this all the time, the choices we make, like lean proteins. I mean, I feel like chicken breast is the very best bang for your buck when it comes to protein and eat, right? Now, I know you're a super huge fan of plant-based protein and not so much of meat-based protein, but I would be interested in your brain at some point about how we can add things into our meat diet that will also include proteins and things, because still I drink a lot of our protein. Like I'm not trying to make ads for things, but this is my go-to. Great. Because I can drink a lot of protein and not a whole lot of liquid, to help boost. My current weight's about 220. It fluctuates 3 or 4 pounds either way, depending on what day of the week. Yeah. Eat 220 grams of protein every day. And so,
there's definitely, we can talk, but one I'll give you right now, complete protein, edamame
I
pasta.
know what he's going to say.
Edamame pasta, 4 ounces of that will give you 42 grams of complete protein. Edamame pasta. Jodi knows where I was going.
And I'm a meat eater, and I can vouch for him. It is really good. And yes, I've eaten it with chicken inside. So it's not completely like plant-based when I eat it, but it cooks really quick and it's really tasty. And one of my kids is a picky eater. He'll eat it too.
Yeah, 40. What was that?
Where do you get it?
Oh, well, normally you can, like here in Texas, I don't know what kind of supermarkets they have where you live, but we have HEB, which is a local supermarket, and you can find it there. Push come to shove, it's in Walmart as well, edamame pasta. But if you can't find it in a local grocer, Amazon, deliver it right to your house. Edamame pasta is complete protein, and 4 ounces of that is about 42 grams of protein.
Some Aldis have a version of it too.
And there's also brown lentil pasta, which is not as much pasta as edamame, but I don't eat wheat pasta anymore because it's not enough bang for the buck. And lentil pasta, brown lentil pasta will give you about 28 grams of protein for about 4 ounces. And so, but the edamame, I eat edamame every week.
Good to know.
And go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Jodi.
No.
Okay, yeah. So, no, another pasta that's good, it's black bean pasta. Black bean pasta. Now, black bean is not a complete protein, but it's, the complete and not complete is actually a myth that's been busted. Simply because I don't spend 7 days a week, 3 meals a week just eating black beans, right? Because I varied my nutrition, then I get all the complete amino acids I need. And so I'm not one of those plant-based people that says you can't eat meat, but as Jodi probably knows what I'm going to say next, make sure you get your fiber, because meat doesn't have fiber. And fiber is so important for longevity. And so that's what I tell, and Jodi knows, so I don't have to tell her, but my meat-eating compadres, make sure you're getting your fiber.
Yep. It'll keep you fuller longer, and it's got so many health benefits too. So between protein and fiber, those are the two I focus on daily to make sure this hungry girl stays fed and satisfied.
Yeah. Earlier, Darin, you were talking about 2 things that I want to explore in the time that we have remaining. One was you spoke about how much you learned from the community, the Fitbot community. Now, besides just the learning, how instrumental was community for you in staying on the path? Because, I see you guys have a picture here with other individuals. So I'm sure community played a role.
Every day. And I'll tell you why. What's really weird in this process, which is something that I never really anticipated, I've had people tell me that I have been inspirational to them. And or, cause them to want to get healthier and more fit. And, I never realized that people were watching, the way that they do, or that the way that they do. But and I see that though. And when you talk about community, like you had that picture of 4 of us in the gym, and we just all happened to have pink that day, which is the reason why we took it. But that's our morning crew at our local gym, or at least some of them. And, they're a huge encouragement to us every morning. It's also kind of a little bit of accountability, because we know they're going to ask questions of where we were if we aren't there. And the other cool thing about it is the morning crew that's on the FitBod community there, that's oftentimes checking each other. That's a huge accountability piece, but inspirational. There are so many people out there in the FitBod community that are inspirational in many, many different ways. And I would get out there or I check it and I see people's stories, and it just makes me want to push myself even further to see what my limits are. I don't know what my limits are, but I know that my goals are getting to the point where they're changing daily. And, I'm 54 years old. I'll be 55 in a few months. And, I'm sure at some point my body is going to probably not be putting on muscle mass or other things the way that I like. But so I feel like maybe I've got a race against the clock, but my hope is to push hard and do the best and then maintain whatever I can do into old age. And look, and so that the people around me, I can still enjoy life at 70 or 80, instead of a lot of people that I know and love who can't. They are so out of shape and not fit that they can't really, their quality of life is just not what they wish it would be. And I want to be growing old with this lady here.
Amen.
And I want us to be out hiking and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff, together when we go.
All right. So I got ready. You like research? I'm going to give you some homework here. Ready? Age is but a number. You continue to improve, you continue to do resistance training and eating properly, you can build muscle as long as you're breathing, brother. Don't put that in your mind. You can keep building. Now, it may not be as fast as when you were in your 20s and 30s, but you can keep building, you can keep growing. Matter of fact, I saw a video on Instagram not too long ago, a 98-year-old gymnast still doing the parallel bars and doing planches and jumping off. Age is but a number. So research that and you'll see that it's a myth that we can't. And you guys, with the desire you have and the discipline you've been showing, there's no sense that you can't, walk down the aisle with your grandkids and march in their wedding. And so keep it up. Jodi, any more questions for you as we begin to wrap up? I do have one more, but go ahead, Jodi.
No, go for it.
All right. So you mentioned your faith. Jodi and I laugh because, one of the things that we want to offer people, even though we haven't been able to bottle it, is this notion that we've kept the weight off, right? Jodi and I have kept the weight off. And you spoke about that you wouldn't be able to do it without your faith. What do you tell someone who feels that they can't get started at our ages, right? You and I are both in our 50s. How would you harness? What would you try to motivate? Because obviously for everybody's different and it's not a formula we can bottle up. So everybody comes from a different perspective. What would you say?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, it's this. I tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed when I tried to do it on my own. Okay. And for me, it's not a surprise that when I decided to put God in the middle of it, just like God's in the middle of our marriage and we have a great, for us, people of faith, when we put God in the middle of it, if God's before us, who can stand against us? That's something that comes to my mind. As long as we put our faith in the middle of it, we can accomplish anything. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can do anything. And when I lean on those promises, then I feel like I can accomplish anything. And so, well, if somebody were to ask me how that works, well, it takes a degree of faith. You have to believe that, in my mind, that there's a higher power and there's something bigger than you are. And I do, and I know Marsha does. And I would just tell them, well, I would love to visit with them about that. Because I know it makes a difference for me. There's something else that I've often heard that, you've got to stand for something or believe something, or you'll fall for anything. And, when you don't have something that can sustain you through the hard times, then it's very hard to stand on your own and make it through any kind of adversity in your life. So, I know that the power is within anyone to make the kind of changes that we have made. We are not superhuman. There's nothing special about us on our own at all. But we have a God-given desire and a responsibility to be a better vessel, to be able to live a testimony that's honoring to God
and to be his disciple.
So, that's how we make it through every piece of adversity. And that's why I feel like we've been successful, is we finally put our focus in the right place.
Amen. And, for me, as a person of faith as well, one of the verses I like is 1 Corinthians 10:31. It says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it for the glory and honor of God. And a lot of people don't know this. The main reason I work out is not for aesthetics. It's not for health reasons. The main reason I work out is that the healthier your body, the clearer your frontal lobe is. And that's the only way we communicate with God. And so I want my mind to be as clear as possible so I can hear his guidance and help others, right? The two greatest commandments: be faithful to God and help others. And that's why here on the Mindful Muscle podcast, Jodi and I, we want to share the gift that we've been given. The more research I do as well, I forgot the numbers. Jodi, if you could remind me of how many people regain the weight.
So depending on the study, 70 to 90%, depending on the study.
Regain the weight.
I know many people have seen my journey and Marsha as well. And I've had more than a few people say, well, gosh, you look amazing. That done a great job, but the hard part is keeping it off. Well, you're talking to somebody who's an expert, knowing that that's the case. But feel like that they just think that you're going to go back to doing what you've always done. But, I don't think that's the case this time. There's too much in stake. Besides that, we absolutely love gym and becoming fit and learning the nutrition side of it has become basically the substitute for food. Whenever Marsha will tell you, if I get thinking about food or something like that, I'll be like, babe, I got to go for a walk, or I got to get out of the house. I'm going to go for a drive. I don't watch TV very much anymore. I used to all the time, but TV was the thing I'd be watching when I snacked all the time.
Yeah. Binge eating. Yeah. Mindless eating.
I had to change those habits that were so dangerous, and I have no plans of going back. And we love being in the gym and just, I don't know, not every day. Like I do her workouts for her. I program her workouts for her, and occasionally didn't get I hoped. And the other day she was glaring at me pretty hard. She was not happy.
Well, he went in a shoulder rehab as well. And he's giving me his exercises, and he looks at me and he's like, why are you doing those? And I'm like, it's what's on here. And I didn't. And I said, well, that's good because I was really thinking that you were not a nice person right now.
You know, Jodi has a story where, and maybe you can add the details, Jodi, that I love, is that one day you realize, wait a minute, instead of staying home and because you were mad or something, instead of staying home and binge eating, I'm going to the gym. That's when you kind of realize things were clicking.
Yeah.
I was so mad that I stormed off and was headed to the gym, and halfway there, I'm like, really? I could have went in the pantry. That's what the old me would have done.
I had a very wise person tell me one time, you know, when you're angry, pray. Well, that's not very good advice. Why? Well, he'd say, well, you try praying to God and staying angry.
Yep.
Well, no, similar
Principle.
type of. If you're having a tough day or you're thinking about food or whatever, go to the gym, because by the time you leave the gym, you've accomplished something and you feel a hell of a lot better about yourself and what's accomplished. So, that is a huge thing for us as well.
Well, I want to thank both of you for being on tonight. And for those who are just tuning in or perhaps catching this later, this is who they were. But through the grace of God and through discipline in nutrition and in fitness, now they are thriving and helping others, inspiring others, and waking up every morning around 3:30 to make the donuts, which is code word for going to the gym and working out. Jodi, once again, thank you. And Darin and Marsha, thank you for being on the Mindful Muscle podcast. Jodi, close us up.
I think my favorite part about your story is, Marsha, you could have easily just had him do it on his own. You really could have, because I hear so many people say, I wish my spouse would get on board with doing this with me. And yeah, you have to want it enough on your own, but man, it's so much easier when you have a partner in your corner doing it with you. So my hat's off to both of you for supporting each other and getting healthy.
Amen to that. Until next time on the Mindful Muscle podcast, be blessed.